Hello, Board Game Shenanigans here. Here's a little quick video about how we compare video games to board games. And I know they're very different in the way they are, but they're both very linked because of the way that gaming is just really, things that we've created to enjoy and spend time on. And video games are just the digital and, electronic form of a board game. Really, board games came out first, and we've kind of moved over to video games. And as video games have increased in popularity, I think board games has decreased, and then subsequently now it's starting to be increased again and getting more and more popular, especially as how these new board games are getting more complex and unique. So I just wanted to look at the different types of why board games and video games are so different, and also why the demographics of these two different forms of entertainment are different. So on the screen, I've got this chart, like it's about UK video game players. So it gives me a percentage of how many people who responded to the survey have said that they were playing video games at that time. And as you can see, there's a large jump between the 2019 and 2020 for every demographic. But in general, it kind of focuses on people between the 16 and 24 age range are the highest, and then it kind of drops as you get older, really, for video games. That's how video games tend to work. And I would say that if they could have asked children under 16, I would say just as high or maybe higher than the top end players. I think that video games are very something you get into very young, and then it kind of drops off as you get older. And just to compare to a bit of evidence from board gaming, this is from Meeple Mountain. And I don't want to go into the whole entire website here, but just the main bit about age demographics. And as you can see, that the 35 to 44 demographic in this particular survey, that's the majority. Now, I know both of these two surveys are, people who have decided to go out and say that they are gamers, and they are doing the survey because they're gamers. But even in this example here, you can see that the young demographic, they don't really play it. It's mainly the 20 to 30-year-old, 40-year-olds, 30s to 40s mainly, that are playing board games, whereas video games, it's the under 20s. So there's a large separation there where what age demographic actually go out and play board games, and then video games, I think maybe some people might stop the video games and move towards board games. And I do feel that personally myself, that as I'm getting older, I'm playing more board games rather than the video games. I think the video games, my favorite ones are the ones when I was a kid, not the ones that are coming out now. So just as a little video here, but I think that some of it is due to the expense of board games. So with board games, they're more expensive than a video game. And I think that probably links in with why older people are playing it, because they can afford to buy a board game. A board game, will cost them anywhere between £30 to £50 if it's a normal sized board game. And then you have those Kickstarter games that are hundreds, and they just keep going higher and higher cost, really. So with compared to video games is so cheap to actually get. There's so many cheap indie games on the store. They give you free games every month on each console. You have Epic Game Store on the PC, gives you a free game every week. You've got Steam sales and Humble Bundles and all these other things that can give you dozens of games for dirt cheap prices. So it's completely different. I think I got Gloomhaven on Epic Game Store for free. So I don't need to buy the £100 game. I can get the digital version, which some people say is superior, and I got it for free. So video games is a completely different type of cost that you're going to be paying when you're getting invested in it. The price tag for a video game is just getting the system, getting the PC, and going with it. I guess another thing is the attention span of the people on it. I think young people have a shorter attention span than the older people. I think older people can stay focused on one thing much longer. Younger people these days, they're moving on. They're like jumping between games, apps, things like that on video games. So they don't stick with one board game. So board games are something you have to sit down at a table for hours, and children, they're not as capable of doing that. And I think anyone who's a board game players try to play with children. They can't focus the same way an adult can at these games. And I think also some of it's how the online appearance of this. So with children and young people on the online talking about video games, when they're interacting with people online, they're very aggressive and get very defensive about video games. So you can have a completely different interaction with people online depending on what you're talking about. I think board games, because it's more older people, they don't really fuss. You can say whatever you want about the game and they won't be that unhappy with it. Whereas with video games, you say a game's bad or a game's good that everyone else is saying bad, they're going to give you hate, flame wars, things like that. So you have to be more cautious with video games, especially with the younger demographics there are. And then there's also the control of it. So with board games, the entire control of you playing at a young age, and I assume that the younger age goes lower here or around the same. The only reason they're playing it is because their parents have allowed them. They've bought it for them. Parents are buying these games for their children. Whereas with video games, there's no control over that. Very few people use parental controls on their digital devices that prevent children from accessing games. So you'll have these vast amounts of quantity of people playing, but they're all got unrestricted access. I mean, there's the common thing, the trope, where we know that the people who majority play Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto and games like that are actually children. It's not actually adults playing those games, even though they're for a mature audience. And that's a weird flip side as well, because board games aren't actually that mature in general. They're generally family friendly and things that you can enjoy it with anyone. But with video games, you've got all these gruesome scenes and sexual scenes that you won't encounter in a board game. So really, it's like there's a very big difference. And I think that this is why there's a struggle to try and convert video games into board games, because a lot of the time these video games, they are being played by younger people, and the board game audience won't just pick them up because they are from the 30 to 40 demographic, which, if you can see here, and this is the UTA stats only and the others global, but as you can see, it's like 40% of people in that demographic are playing video games. Maybe there's some crossover because it's all gaming, but at the same time, there are different types of board games out there, different types of video games out there. This 40%, is this all, the type that you get in big Kickstarters from Steamforged Games and CMON and things like that? Probably not. It's more likely people on the older demographic, they're playing like mobile games and things to pass the time. And, if they're parents, they're going to have less and less time to play games on their own. They're going to be just playing things with their children or things just whenever they have a bit of time off. So that's about the gist of that video, really. It's just a bit of a quick one just to see if people understand the same way thing I do, and see if anyone has any other insights about why board games and video games are just so different in general. If you like the video, please like, subscribe, and share it around, and definitely leave your comments, because I think all these topics are very interesting to discuss, and I do want interaction in the comment section. Thanks. Bye.